Pursuit Force is like if you took the hijack mechanics from Just Cause and tried to make an entire game out of it. It's a vehicle arcade game, kind of. It's a bit hard to explain, but let me try. So you're a cop in a near future American city. At least I'm assuming it's America, with all the guns and cool shit. Anyway, you take on a bunch of different gangs by shooting them or blowing them up. Reading from a script is hard, so think of it like a racing game without the racing. You're always going forward, and to be honest, I'm not sure why you even need brake and accelerate as controls. This is basically an endless runner like Subway Surfers, so I'm expecting this video to have a solid 100% retention rate. I mean, it's not endless, there are levels, but anyway, you're always speeding ahead, but the game does a good job on mixing up the gameplay. Sometimes you're taking guys out, sometimes you're disabling trucks, sometimes you're driving an offensive Italian stereotype to the airport.
Yeah, get me the hell out of Dodge. The Don wants me pushing up daisies.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy racism. The game almost plays itself. You're not really given a whole lot of choice in how to play, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. One level I was chasing guys down, then running on foot, then driving a boat, all in the same 10-minute level. Other than go and go backwards for controls, you can also fire your weapon at nearby enemy vehicles. It auto-aims for you, so you don't gotta worry about that. It even does it for enemies behind you. Alternatively, you can leap onto enemy vehicles by getting close to them and hitting circle, which you'll need to do often. Before you can hijack them and fully take control of the vehicle, you need to kill the passengers and then the driver. The only way to do this is by shooting them. They'll fire back, and you don't have a ton of health. You can avoid their fire by taking cover on the vehicle, but if you do this for too long, you risk falling off. Kill them all and you'll commandeer the vehicle. It's a really simple system, but it works well for the PSP. You don't aim, you don't platform, all you really do is choose when to fire, dodge, and who to hijack. I think if they gave you more control, it'd become overwhelming, especially if you're annoying people in public with the volume on full blast while not using earbuds. You know who you are, and you should jump off a bridge. There's a bunch of different guns to use, but you can't manually select what you want to use, which is some control I wish I had. Instead, you always have a pistol as a backup, but otherwise you'll steal any firearm off the enemy you killed. I do wish the game was a bit more Mario Kart-y, maybe some vehicle weapons or abilities. Why can't I choose who in the vehicle I'm going after first? Or why can't I use my car to ram other cars? I mean, you kinda can, but it's not like the Burnout games, and why not? Burnout's on the PSP and does it. It just feels half-baked here. You do get a justice bar that fills up. You can use it to either heal yourself or shoot enemies while jumping onto their vehicle. Pursuit Force is pretty fun, but every vehicle feels basically identical. I guess the motorcycle is faster than some cars, but it doesn't super feel like it, and it doesn't matter either because rubber banding is always on, and it needs to be. That's good because you're always in the action, but it's also bad because, like I said before, there's no real point to pressing X to go, other than you have to. There's never a reason to brake, since you can hold square to drift around corners. What this does is, it makes all the vehicles feel the same. Car, motorcycle, boat, they have very minor differences, but that's about it. I also wish you could upgrade the vehicles. Instead, you start with one as the mission begins, usually a cop car, and then you'll end up stealing someone else's and go from there. It's cool you're often driving something new, but it doesn't matter that much because, like I said, they all feel the same. There's also no real progression to speak of, which bums me out. On the flip side, I do like the gangs you come up against. The game is really going for a late 90s, early 2000s vibe. It's the right amount of wacky, but not too much. It feels like it could have been a Dreamcast game. The gangs consist of guys like the convicts, paramilitary, and mafia, just to name a few. They're all played up as caricatures, but it works, it's silly, and me, I'm a silly enjoyer. Each gang has about 10 missions for you to complete, but the game forces you to bounce around, fighting different gangs, so you can't just grind out all the convict missions, for example. I really enjoyed the character they put into these gangs. As you play, you'll often get banter from the gangs, which I had a lot of fun listening to.
You're my hero. Remember to get my number later.
It's really stupid, but charming. For example, the convicts are impulsive and violent, but also super crafty. They drive muscle cars with welded on parts and lots of spray paint. The paramilitary guys have military-style vehicles, so on and so forth. It makes the game feel alive, and gives it a lot of character. It helps that the game runs at a solid 60 FPS, and I dig the subtle art design. Technically, it's a pretty ugly game that almost could be mistaken for a PS1 game in my opinion. But sometimes you'll notice cool effects, like your jacket blowing in the air. I don't know if it's because I'm playing on an emulator, but the pop-in of other vehicles is pretty bad. I didn't notice this with the environment. Even so, it doesn't hurt the gameplay. I also wish it was more apparent when you were shooting or being shot at. It's easy to lose track of your health with all the fast-paced chaos happening. Likewise, it just doesn't feel that satisfying to shoot guys. You basically hold square until they disappear. I want my shotgun to feel punchy. The combat is fine, but it just doesn't have any weight to it, which is my biggest gripe. I understand maybe they didn't want to add blood for the rating, but that'd go a long way to making the combat feel better. Another solution they could have done is to let you melee attack while hijacking. What I'm trying to say is I think they should have taken some ideas from other games, like maybe Road Rash, since that's kinda what this game is. This game's kind of a lot of things now that I think about it. Pursuit Force has been criticized for being super difficult, and yeah, it is. When you get into the later stages and gangs, you will fail a lot. But the missions are so short, I didn't mind it much. If you were passing every mission with the first or second try, you could probably complete this game in like 3 hours. There's checkpoints too, so I never found it frustrating to play. If you fail, you just restart and you're good to go. There's almost no load time. I think a lot of people call Pursuit Force a hidden gem, and yeah, I can almost see it, but it's just not quite there for me. It feels too close to a phone game. It's good, but not great, and I wish it just did a little more depth or complexity, and it'd be an easy 8 out of 10. It's unique, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there could be just a bit more meat to it. I'm sure at the time it was more impressive, but now? If you want to play a game like Pursuit Force, you're probably better off pulling out your phone rather than your PSP. But it's not a terrible game, it's just not quite there for me. So yeah, I don't know, if it looks fun, then give it a try. If not, you're not missing too much. I'd say it's good, not great, and I couldn't call it a hidden gem. Anyway, thanks for watching.